Hello and welcome to lesson 157. We are in our brand new chapter 19 and this is our last chapter for the year. We are going to be learning about division now. When we are dividing, this is the symbol we use. Now, these first few lessons, we're not really going to hit on this symbol too much because we're going to learn what it means to divide. Just like when we learned how to multiply, it was a while before we used the multiplication or the times symbol, okay? And these two kind of go hand in hand. So this lesson, well, we will be looking a little bit at that symbol because they kind of go together. Remember when we were subtracting and we used addition to check our answers? Some division and multiplication are similar in the way that you can use each of them to kind of check your answers, okay? So anyway, we're going to dive right into chapter 19. We got Matt and Patty, who you will see for the last time this lesson. And you will need pages 315 and 316. And then remember, since this is the first lesson in a chapter, we end up doing two sheets. And so you'll need 317 and 318 as well. And on your 315 paper, we're going to visit Matt and Patty and their last place they're going to be going, okay? So, and this one's called Patty's Close Call. So, let's see why Patty looks a little scared there. You see that? You think he looks scared? I think he does a little bit. So, listen up as I read about Matt and Patty and their latest adventure. As they rode into town of Fort Vermillion, Matt craned his neck trying to catch a glimpse of a teepee, but all he saw were houses. He turned to the driver and asked, "Where are all the teepees?" Chief Roaring Bear smiled. "Actually, we don't live in teepees anymore. We live in houses just like you." So there were some Native Americans around. "Oh," Pat replied. He was a little embarrassed. "However, we do set up the teepees whenever we host the annual Beaver Festival," Chief Roaring Bear said. "We try to show visitors an authentic beaver village, the way it was many years ago." "That's a good idea," Matt said. "I'm going to enjoy working on this project." The next day, Chief Roaring Bear assigned Matt to set up 5 teepees. Remember that number, 5 teepees. He gave Matt a pile of poles and a stack of canvas. "We use the poles to make a frame for the canvas," said Chief Roaring Bear. "Then we stretch the pieces of canvas across the frame. There are enough poles and pieces of canvas here for 5 teepees. Just give me a call when you're done and I'll come back and pick you up." Chief Roaring Bear hopped back in his Jeep and took off to oversee more preparations for the festival. Matt and Patty counted 20 pieces of canvas in a pile. "I wonder how many pieces of canvas one teepee takes," said Matt. Patty shrugged, and he started chewing on one of the teepee poles. Matt was concerned. "If I get to the last one and I don't have enough canvas, I'll have to redo the first 4 teepees again. But maybe I can use math to plan ahead, so I only have to do the work once." Matt started writing down numbers on his notepad. Soon, Matt felt a tap on his shoulder. Behind him stood a woman. She is. Let's see. The woman had a fur sash around her waist. "That beaver," she said. "Does it belong to you?" "Yes," said Matt. "Come here, Patty. This lady would like to meet you." Patty waddled over to where they were standing. The woman bent down and patted on Patty's head. "My, what lovely fur he has," she said. "It's so thick and such a rich brown color." "I see you're wearing fur," Matt said. He mentioned to the long fur sash she wore around her waist. I make and sell these for the festival each year, she said. This sash is made out of raccoon and muskrat fur. I make fur caps and slippers too. Is that right? Matt said, feeling a little uneasy. The woman was studying Patty's fur intently. Matt glanced down at Patty. Mr. O'Malley, the woman said, I have never seen a beaver's fur like this one. It will make a beautiful fur cap. I will give you $100 for Patty. His mouth opened. $100, Matt cried. Patty gazed up at Matt. Matt gently moved the beaver away from the lady. I'm sorry, he said, trying to keep his voice kind but firm. Patty is definitely not for sale. You see, he's more than a pet. He grinned down at Patty. He's my helper. So that was a close call for Patty. That woman wanted to take Patty's fur. Okay, so let's take a look at the back of our paper. We have Matt and Patty, and his job right now is to build 5 of the teepees using the poles and the canvas. So you're going to see here the 20 pieces of canvas that he was given. It says, and so let's look at number 1. Let's do this together. Chief Roaring Bear told Matt that there are 20 pieces of canvas for 5 teepees. Matt needs to divide the pieces of canvas into equal sets to find out how many pieces he should use for each teepee. We've done this before. We've divided groups into different sets, but usually we use that to multiply. But listen to that word, divide. And when we see the symbol to divide, we already know how to do this. We just have to figure out what it all means and how we get an answer from all of this. So we know how to divide already, and we've been doing it since, several months. We've been doing it for several months. So let's look at this. Now, Matt needs to divide the pieces of canvas into equal sets to find out how many pieces he should use for each teepee. So it says there are blank teepees. How many teepees are there? 5. We know that. It gives us 5, right? So we're going to put a 5 right there. So if there are 5 teepees, how many pieces of canvas are we going to use for each teepee? Well, you're going to divide these canvas pieces in 5 groups. So let's see if you can do that and see if you get the same thing I do. And feel free to pause it if you need to. All right. So I divided these into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal sets. They all have the same number of canvas pieces in each one. So how many pieces of canvas are in each set? 4. Now, let's look at number 2. We are not going to be using this sign on our other worksheet today, but we are going to be using it later on the chapter. Remember, the first lesson in each chapter goes through everything you're going to be doing in the chapter. So let's look. So it says, now Matt divided 10 poles, because remember, he also gave him 10 poles, into 5 equal sets. Why do you think he did them in 5 equal sets? Because there's 5 teepees, right? So he has 10 poles, and he needs to use them for 5 teepees. So it says total. So how many total poles did he have? 10. And how many sets did he have to divide them into? 5 equal sets. So we have 10 poles divided into 5 sets. So let's do that. We have 10 poles divided in 5 sets. So I'm going to draw my 5 sets. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's my 5 sets. So how many poles is going to go in each set? Let's start with 1 in each set. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. There's 5 poles. Let's do another one. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So now I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I have all 10 poles divided into my sets. So how many are in each set? 10 poles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Divided into 5 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Equals how many in each set? 1, 2. 2 poles in each set. So 10 divided into 5 equal sets equals 2. So we can multiply to check. So we're going to be doing that later on in the chapter. So we do this a little bit differently. You take your number of sets, which is 5, and you multiply that by your answer, which is 2, and 5 times 10, or 5 times 2, I'm sorry. So you just do 5, 10. Does our answer match how many poles we started with? It sure does. We're going to be doing this later on in the chapter. Okay, now let's look at the bottom. How can using division help you please God? What do you think? Well, what did Matt say? He said if he just started building these teepees, and when he got to the last teepee, he didn't have enough, or he had too much, and they didn't stand up right. What did he say? He would have to do it over again, wouldn't he? So he said, I have to plan ahead and use math to do my work well. So you can pause and write that. I can use division to do my work well. I can use division to do my work well. Okay? So go ahead and pause and write that on there. And we're going to move on to our second paper. All right. Now, as we start diving into equal sets, this is going to help us really understand what division means, what it means to divide things. And we know this. We know how to do equal sets, but it's all about the wording and how we do it so we can really understand what it means to divide something. So in today's lesson, we're just doing equal sets. So take a look at your paper. I'm going to do a few of these with you so we can really figure out what this means, okay? So go ahead and pull out 317, okay? And I'm going to put Matt and Patty over here. And we're going to take a look at what you have on your paper. You have a bunch of feathers, don't you? Looks like number 1, we have 8 feathers. So I'm just going to draw some ovals for some feathers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Now, they showed you 2 different ways you can divide these into sets, didn't they? So you have to answer the questions they have at the bottom. Fill in the blanks to make these true statements, okay? So what did they do here? This first one, they divided 1, 2. How many sets did they divide that first one into? 1, 2. So they divided 2 sets of, how many in each set? How many feathers are in each set? There's 4, isn't it? So 2 sets of 4 is how many altogether? 8, right? So remember, that means what plus what equals what? Well, it's not going to be 2 plus 4. Remember, we're not going to add 2 plus 4 because that's 6, right? That doesn't even go with anything we're doing. What is that saying? That's saying in the first set we have 4 plus 4 more. And what does 4 plus 4 equal? 8. So remember, really watch these signs. Now, that's the same as what multiplied by what gives us 8. Remember, when we're multiplying, we count how many sets? 2 times 4 is, again, going to give us 8. Okay, really look at these signs. And it's like a big review, this chapter is, of the whole year really getting these signs right and truly understanding what they mean. So I want you to try number 2 on your own. You can pause this, or you can just wait till the end to come back to it. That's up to you. Okay, now let's look at number 3. Okay, number 3 tells us to draw boxes to make equal sets. Then we have to complete the sentence. So now you have to draw the boxes. And so, oh cool, it looks like a little fire pit. I'm just going to draw some ovals. They have 4 ovals, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now it tells you on number 3, it says 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Let's look at this. Divided into sets of 2. So I have to divide these 8 into sets of 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. 2. Okay, so I did what it said. Now it's wanting to know how many are in each set. So it says there are blank in each set. So how many were in each set? 1, 2. 2 in each set. 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay? Now, a little bit later on, we're going to really learn what that means, because we don't need it for this page, but that's saying we have 8 fires, right? Little fire pits. And we're dividing them into sets of 2. So if you have 8 and you divide it into sets of 2, how many sets will you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna have 4 sets. So you're working on getting ready to do division problems, okay? So we have 8 total altogether, and we're dividing them into sets of 2. And that equals how many sets? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sets, okay? But you don't need to know this part for this paper. I'm just kind of showing you so you know where we're headed with our division, okay? Now that was number 3. Now I'm gonna skip down to number 6. Now, number 6 looks a little tricky, but for some people, those number lines really help. Some people just learn easier with number lines. If this is really confusing for you, don't worry about it. Just kind of watch how I'm doing it. We're not going to do a lot with number lines, but it is in here, and I do want to go over it, okay? So they gave you a number line for number 6, and they are counting by ones on this number line. They're going all the way to 10. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now on this number line, they want to know how many sets of 3 can be subtracted from 6. Well, here's 6, so this is where we're going to start. And we're going to subtract 3 one time. 1, 2, 3. That's going to give us to there, so that's one time. And 1, 2, 3. We're able to do it a second time. And I'm going backwards because they want to know how many times I can subtract. Okay, remember this is number 6. So, blank sets of 3 can be subtracted from 6. 1, 2. 2 sets of 3 can be subtracted from 6. Then they give you the box over here, and they want you to do those problems. So that first time we took away 3, 1, 2, 3, we landed on what number? 3, 6, we took away 3. So now we're sitting here on 3, and we want to take away 3 more. This time, what number did we land on? 0, okay? That can be a little confusing for some of you, but for some of you, that helps it click, okay? So that is number 6. And on the back are similar ones to what we just did on the front. So go over those. If you have to look back at the ones we did together, do that. And at the bottom, you have a review of multiplication facts. So you get those learned, and don't forget those over the summer. Okay? All right, I will see you for our next lesson. Bye.